I swear, what is in this fucking box? Greetings and salutations, nerds. My name's Gilbert Ybarra, and welcome back to the Attic Review. Thank you guys so much for joining me again today. So last week we had some fun with my new segment called Why WTF? Why haven't you watched this film? We started off with The Lost Boys, which, despite its vampire exterior, still is a good, fun film to watch. Now this next one was released in 1995, and this shit is dark. Okay, it is evil. Like Fruits of the devil evil. Alright, we're talking about... what's... One second here. What's in this box? 1 second here. Se7en is what we are going to be discussing today. Let's see that cool poster. Alright, okay, cool ass intense poster, I see you. And what we get to see is a little glimpse of what is in store for us. We have two detectives that are paired together to solve what is going to be a series of murders based off of 7. Now, what is the significance of that number? That significance goes back to, if you're not familiar with Catholic teachings, it goes with the 7 deadly sins. Now, with that being said, we have our virtues, things that we want to do correctly in life. Then we have our sins, the stuff that you don't want to do. Then we have the 7 deadly sins, which, as you can tell, are the bad ones. You should not be doing this. What are the 7 deadly sins you're asking? Let's take a quick look at it real fast, okay? Here we go. Woo! You bunch of dirty sinners. I bet a bunch of you could cross all of those off your lips. But I'm not one to judge. But you know who is? The antagonist, John Doe. He is not very happy with humanity, and he's taken some of the biblical teachings, and in his deranged, warped mind, has decided to send the world a message that this world and lifestyle that we live is not a good one, not a pleasant one, and he wants to let the world know to get their shit right. That is, unless, of course, our two protagonists can stop him from completing his fucked up plan. And our heroes are Detective Somerset and Detective Mills. Let's get a good look at them right now. Boom! Okay, so we have our badass detectives. We have Detective Somerset and Detective Mills. Somerset is played by Mr. Voice of God himself, Morgan Freeman. Now, he is very cool, calm, collected, seasoned veteran of homicide, but he's got about 7 days left until retirement, and he's kind of like on his Danny Glover, like, I'm getting too old for this shit routine. Like, he's ready to leave, all right? Brad Pitt plays Detective Mills. All right, ladies. We know he's carved from the gods, okay? Try not to simp out. Fellas, try not to simp out. But Detective Mills is quite the opposite of his counterpart. Mills is a hothead, really ready to rush in, kind of shoot first, ask questions later, and that is not the kind of mentality you want when dealing with such a menacing and meticulous serial killer such as John Doe. And I'm going to go ahead and start saying serial killer now because that's what his plan is entailed. He is going to start leaving a string of bodies, and he's going to dare the detectives to stop him or to kind of discover what his whole plan is. So now we're going to get into kind of why haven't you watched this film? So the whole point of this segment is to kind of pinpoint why this film isn't talked about more. And I think there's two main reasons why there's a cause that 7 slipped between the crack in the 90s. So I always like to break down 1996 as the year where we had a very, very divisive split in movie watching and how it was viewed. 1996 was the year of Scream. Once Scream happened, it opened up the floodgates for a lot more horror. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is that horror was revived. Bad thing is that it introduced a lot of other subgenres. Now, I'm going to go on to say this. I am not a big fan of torture porn. I hate that shit. I'm not the biggest fan of Saw and Hostel. Now, Saw, maybe the first one because of the psychological elements that it presented, and it wasn't a bad film. I mean, take that back. It was groundbreaking in what it did, but afterwards, it just ran away with the torture porn shit, okay? I get tired of that crap. Hostel, same thing. I understand the great underlying message that it was conveying. However, I get tired of that crap. So with the opening of Scream and all these subgenres, we lost the whole appreciation for a psychological thriller. Now, 7 might not be what you consider a traditional horror film, but the psychological impact that it has on you just speaks volumes. So I think that one of the main reasons is just time and the introduction of Scream and losing a lot of the core audience that would appreciate the mind games as opposed to just pure jump scares and gore. So that's the first reason. Second reason, and even now it's uncomfortable for me to say because I know a lot of people don't like speaking about politics or religion, and this movie is, whether we like it or not, heavily laden with biblical themes, especially when it comes to the seven deadly sins. I can see why it would lose some audience and moviegoers because of its content. Those that are devout to their religion, I can understand them having difficulties wanting to watch this film. So I get it, and that's why I think that Seven, even though honestly, guys, I'm not kidding, it is a classic. It is a masterpiece. But I understand why, because I think those two things really got the rug and it was slid under. So that's why I'm doing this now. So that's why I think people haven't watched this film. Now let's get to the good stuff. Let's talk about why you should watch this movie. I'm excited. This is why you should watch it. Okay, so one of the main reasons you should watch this film is the overall tone and feel of the movie. Now, when you watch films like The Matrix, you're not understanding it, but you're being influenced by all the color schemes that they're doing. There's a lot of green, red, yellow to help your mind receive the story better. Now with Seven, David Fincher, I love it because he had such an uncompromising view of what he wanted to do with this film. He wanted to make it as dark as possible to really match the killer's mindset and thought process, and he does it wonderfully. How, are you asking? He did it by conveying a noir style film, but in color. So noir style is basically in black and white, and I like to think of it as having stronger character development and just stronger drive of the characters in the film. Like if you've seen Logan, Logan is another example of that. Sure, it was released in color, but if you watch it noir style in black and white, you can see that the actors and the way it's shot really complements that style. And that's what David Fincher does with this. The whole thing is just, it feels gloomy and just dreadful all around. The constant rain, the way he's even filming the actual scenes with special films, they actually bleached it to make it look more grainy, which if you can appreciate that kind of artistry, I'm sorry, that's where I nerd out, and maybe at one point maybe you guys would like to nerd out too. So in this movie you'll notice there is a very, very dark overtone that's not going to be matched by too many movies. Even in last year, or I'm so sorry, 2020's release of The Hunt, which I have on DVD, had that cool like, you know, oh, things aren't going to go well for you. And I appreciated that. Seven has that same tone, and it grabs you the whole time and lets you know, you're not safe, motherfucker. This isn't going to be a happy ending for you. You're not going to go to bed happy because of the third act. And mostly, I'm going to say the third act is really why you should watch this film. Pull it together, Gilbert. Pull it together. Okay, I got ahead of myself. The third act is sublime. It is flawless. However, before we get to that point, you should watch this movie because the whole movie's fucking great. Again, like I said earlier, you're not going to feel safe with this movie. This movie is not going to give you the good feelings in your tummy. It's not going to give you butterflies. It's not going to be like, oh, thank God. The good guy won. We made it, boys. Let's crack open a cold one. We're good. Nope. Fincher said, fuck that. In fact, the script itself pushed away some main A-list celebrities. Denzel Washington was one of them. He turned down the role of Mills, I believe, and he was like, no, 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 fam, that shit is too dark. Later on, he went on to say that he regrets not doing the film. And I've got to say this too, like, this just speaks volumes about how powerful and dark this movie was, is that at the premiere, once it was done and curtains went up, the audience members at the premiere walked out, really. They didn't say a word. Brad Pitt turned to director David Fincher, is like, what the fuck did we just make? I'm paraphrasing, but in the interview, it went along those lines, which is cool to see, because like I said, this whole movie is going to be one giant metaphorical kick to the nuts. If you don't have nuts, the metaphorical lady parts. Bear with me here, okay? So, the whole movie, again, is really driven by John Doe's warped mind, and it's neat because we do kind of see it in that perspective the whole time. It is so grimy when they show like his okay, I'm gonna say a little spoiler here. Ready, guys? Okay. It is so grimy when you're walking onto the crime scenes. The first one in itself, yeah, spooky. But then later on, we get to other ones such as like lust and sloth, and it's oh, bad news. But the biggest one I've got to say is sloth. That one really is just an incredible scene where we, whether you like it or not, you kind of admire in a sick way the man's work ethic and his dedication to his craft. So why you should watch this film. Let's get into the sloth scene. Ready, guys? All right, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to tease you at first. You see these guys are looking intently at this crime scene. They got a tip onto the possibility of the killer being in that area. Maybe not necessarily there, but he's around this area. So the cops, they get a good lead. They're feeling good. Let's bring in SWAT. Let's get this motherfucker. Bust in, and the scene is not at all what they thought was going to happen. So you see in that previous picture I showed you, they have this just, what the fuck are we looking at look. And we're like, what the fuck are they looking at? I have that look now. You want to see what they saw? Here's what they saw. That shit is still haunting to this day. And that is one of the many scenes in this film where they show just how deranged John Doe is. And that alone, I think, should easily make this a horror film, even though, again, it's not classified as one. It's classified as a crime thriller. But Entertainment Weekly agrees with me, and it at one point voted it the 5th scariest movie of all time. So again, this whole movie is a wonderful journey. But the main reason you need to watch this is just it's flawless. The third act, Brad Pitt can fucking act, okay? He's amazing. He's not just eye candy, ladies, okay? He can act. After Legend of the Fall, he was just like, oh man, look at that nice little hunk of beef. Hunk of beef can act, and he showed that in the third act when it's just him, Freeman, and, spoiler alert, the antagonist, John Doe, played by Kevin Spacey. Fun fact about that, Spacey's name wasn't really on the credits. He had a small part, very powerful, but didn't want to be on the credits. Why? If I recall correctly, he didn't want to do press. I don't blame the guy. Press probably sucks. So anyways, so we have Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, and even though I just said it, we have our antagonist in the vehicle together because the antagonist wants to finish his plan. It's time. The whole thing is gripping. This is the most amazing third act in a film I've ever seen in my life. Most third acts, when they're going to finish the movie, they want to give you, the audience, a nice little treat for sitting down and putting up with their bullshit the whole time. This is the cream on top of our cherry pie or apple pie, whatever the fucking pie you like. There's going to be whipped cream on it. This is the whipped cream, okay, that most filmmakers will do. And in most horror films, we have our fighting a girl or just a regular survivor getting away as the body counts mounts up, explosions, everything's on fire, everything's blowing up. We're in a Michael Bay film. Not this film. David Fincher pumped the brakes and was like, no, we are going to make the ultimate slow burn, and it is unsettling on how patient it is. And the whole time, we are just getting more and more in our thoughts. It is designed to make you think and anticipate the worst. And whatever, if you haven't seen this movie, if you think you know what's going to happen, you have no idea. And that was a brutal, amazing shock that this movie delivered. And that's why this movie is still considered a classic. So I'm hoping I made my case for you to watch this movie. Again, Se7en, guys, please get a chance to check it out. I think it's on maybe that new HBO and Cinemax channel, but please get a chance, watch it, all right? And also, if you get a chance, I always do this, I always forget, I get so lost in talking to you guys, so please click like and subscribe, all right, guys? I'm having a grand time talking to you guys. This is so much fun. All right, leave some comments. If you haven't seen the movie yet and are going to check it out, please let me know which part scared you the most. If you have seen it, let me know what part scared you the most, and just, leave some comments talking about how great David Fincher is, how wonderful Morgan Freeman is, and how badass Brad Pitt is, all right? You guys, once again, please click like and subscribe. Subscribe, Gilbert. Click like and subscribe, and please tell some friends, and I'll see you guys next week for another edition of why WTF, why haven't you watched this film? Alright guys, this has been the Addict Review. Thank you guys so much, and I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great weekend.